All right, I'm going to call to order the workshop meeting for the town of Chincoteague for August 20th. We can all please stand for the invocation from Mr. McComb.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us all here tonight. I want to say thank you in prayers for all the town employees, those military men and women, frontline workers, Lord. Keep them all safe, Lord. Guide us and direct us to make the best decisions tonight. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda for this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, I guess I can do that. Item 5 is to consider the proposed new ordinances. Is this for the harbor?
No, this is e-ticket.
Yeah, well, that was. Okay. Any discussion on the e-ticket ordinance? This is coming down through the state police, right, Robbie?
Well, it's actually the courts are allowing, the state police they're trying to do it themselves. But what it's going to do is it's to bring all of it together and make it a lot easier on them. And we have to have paper tickets we send down to the court, just like with us from here. Sometimes they'll make it down in 2 or 3 days. Sometimes they make it down in a week, week and a half. It just depends on when we've got somebody going to ACMAC or not. So if we can get this e-ticket system in place, then it'll automatically, the tickets will be generated right through the court. We'll be able to print them out, and our officers will have a copy too. We'll print out the one for the violator also, but they'll automatically go down to the court. So it's going to make it a whole lot easier. And there's already several police departments in Virginia that have gone to it. The state police, because I think in 2016, I believe, when we looked it up, the General Assembly allowed like a pilot program of this, and some of the smaller police departments were doing it, and of course they adopted it. And just this past year or year before last is when the state police said, hey, we want you to get in on this too, because they write more tickets than anybody else. But the General Assembly had only allowed counties and towns, cities to do it, so they changed the law and allow the state police, and they've been doing their pilot programs as they do it, all theirs. And basically, it's I think they said it saved them 16 minutes, I believe it was, something like that per stop. Yeah. So it's it's good. It gets the officers back on the street quicker, and the paperwork, less trouble for the paperwork.
Does it require any additional equipment in the cars or?
Everything that we've got a quote from basically the ones that most the departments so far are working on, and our computers are MDTs that we're using now in the cars will work with this. This works with our Southern software, the program and everything. The one thing that he did add was printers. We'll have to have 5 printers, one for each car, because we'll have to be able to print out a copy, for them. And also on here, he said something that would be extra if we wanted it. We don't have to have it, but would be like a scan bar to put on the side. They're $336 each. So that way we could scan the license and the registration, because your registrations now have the barcode reader on too. And that way it will go right into the system. We wouldn't have to actually enter anything, other than just what the charge was and whatnot. So that's that's all an option, but see, what this does, this allows us, we don't have to get these this year, we don't have to do it in 5 years. Basically, what the law allows is that we can start building up the money now. But the only thing is that we have to use that money. It has to go to a separate account that the town's gonna have to have, and it can only be used for this e-ticket system. Can't be used for any other, public function or any other capacity. So basically, that's what this ordinance is. In the law, it says that each locality has to pass an ordinance allowing the courts to collect this extra $5 fee. And it's for every charge. It's not just for traffic. It goes through the circuit court, goes to the general district court, and the juvenile and domestic relations. So, anything that, whether it's a warrant, arrest warrant, citation, whatever, they all have court costs added to them anyway. All this is going to do is just add $5 to each one. And the $5 will come back to the town. So,
But that money could go to the computers also that generate the tickets, right? I mean, saying is, the money, that $5 money, anything that is associated with generating the ticket.
Yeah, if we were to say, okay, we want to wait for 5 years and collect the money, and in 5 years, we're probably gonna have to change the computers in the cars, then yeah, it could go for that.
It can go for that, right?
But that's gonna be an extra expense, on top of what we have here, because right now, he's got, and of course, the longer we wait, this is gonna, of course, go up,
But right now, we just need 5 printers,
Yeah.
just to make it work, to
Right.
make it work today.
Right, 5 printers and then the hardware. The total for all 5 of our cars right now, to get them up and running, would be $29,717. That's for the software, the hardware, the printers. The only thing that doesn't include would be the card readers. Or the license reader and registration. So that's what I say, we could, we could do it now and take that money and, put
Pay
it
for
back.
everything later.
Yeah, or we can just wait. That's really up to
How much difference in the card reader? How much price-wise? What?
He said
$336 per car. It would be, so 5, so 50, a little over 1,500. For to have the card readers you're talking about in there, yeah, it'd be a little over $1,500. So, or $1,650.
Isn't that also you calling in here and asking them run a check for you?
Don't do that now, basically, when we've got VSIN and everything is on our computers in the cars. We
Does
run
Fish
them
and
all
Wildlife
ourselves.
do that?
No, they don't, because see, they're federal. They use us.
I know they use us, but
Yeah.
I've heard them ask for license numbers.
Fish and Wildlife or us?
I thought it was a town. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a county, I hear.
They may, if they've had something wrong with the computer
okay.
or, I mean, they still can, of
Sure.
course. Or if they're out of the vehicle, with somebody. I know a lot of what you hear, sometimes is they'll run a VIN number
Maybe that's it.
because they're up in the
License
car
number.
actually reading the VIN number off. They're not in their vehicle.
Mhm.
The VIN numbers are so long, so, yeah.
Maybe
But
that's it.
for the most part, we've got all that in the car. We can check wanted people, we can check tags, license, all nine yards. That's already in there. So,
But by approving the orders, we're not spending any money.
no, it's not
So
gonna
we'll
cost,
just,
not
yeah.
gonna cost a thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Not right now.
Down the road.
Down the road, yes.
Robbie, has the, I think I asked you this in the ordinance committee meeting, I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to Nancock or Parks or anybody like that. Have they started the program yet?
I haven't even had a chance to check with them. Like I said, I know the state police is, and I'm pretty sure Accomack is. But I don't know about the smaller towns, if they're gonna. I know that the courts are pushing them, because it's gonna be a lot easier on them when somebody calls. That's why Francina called me and asked me to, try to get our council to go along with it, because if not, they're gonna have to separate, well, where, what locality wrote you, and then, be a different court cost for each. The localities that did compared to the localities that didn't. So I got a feeling they're gonna push it pretty hard for all of them to do it. And that's the thing, it doesn't cost anything.
And $5 was the fee we had to use, wasn't it?
Yes, it can't be any more.
It can't be any more than that, yeah.
Yeah, $5 with the maximum
Yeah.
that could be charged.
So I think we were talking about in the ordinance committee meeting, if we were gonna get a ticket of $100, you know,
Right.
$5, why not just tack on $20?
Yeah.
You know?
General Assembly, then $5 is most you can get.
All righty, I'll entertain a motion that we approve this ordinance.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Colbert?
Okay, the second new ordinance is for the remote participation in meetings by council members. And in order to do this, the governing body has to adopt an ordinance. Most of this is straight out of the Code of Virginia. The only part we get a little bit of say-so on is the scheme for how we approve it. But basically, there's two reasons you can participate remotely. One is a personal reason, another one is a disability or illness that prevents you from attending. In both instances, the person or the member of council that would be missing the meeting would have to notify the mayor the day before, the vice mayor in his absence. Tell them they would not be able to attend. The mayor would have to ascertain as to why that member of council couldn't attend. Was it a personal reason? Was it an illness? And the nature with specificity of that reason. It doesn't have to be published, but we have to know the specificity of the reason why. Moving on down. The minutes have to record the reason that you're not there, and the minutes have to record the place that you attend from. There are 4 things that have to happen in order, and this is the procedure. This is where we have a little bit of say-so, but not much over the state code. Number 1, in order to do this, there has to be a quorum in the room where the meeting is being held. The person attending remotely cannot be counted as a member of the quorum.
So that means we all can't take off one night. So we're not coming in.
If 3 voting members of the council are out, we don't have a quorum in the room, we can't hold a meeting. If 4 members are in place and 2 members want to participate remotely, that's okay. The members of the council present at the established meeting place approve the members' participation by majority vote. So the first thing that has to happen in the meeting after the invocation pledge of allegiance is you have to allow the participation of this member remotely by a voice vote. Okay, and third thing, the approval cannot be arbitrary. If you're going to approve one, and we talked about this in the ordinance committee meeting, but if you're going to approve one member this month, and next month you don't want to approve another member because you're afraid they might not vote for what you want, that can't happen. You have to approve or disapprove for the same reasons. Everybody gets treated, brushed with the same brush. The council also has to make arrangements for the voice of the participating member to be heard by all people in the room. I've done this before. Most of the time you put a cell phone on speaker and that covers it. You don't have to have any fancy equipment. We all have a cell phone. We put it up on the desk, turn on speaker and say, can you hear me? When they say yes and you can hear them, it counts. So it's a fairly simple procedure. It would give everyone here an opportunity to participate when they may be out of time. And let me go back to this again. You can participate remotely for medical reasons or disabilities as many times as you like. If it's a personal reason, you just don't want to be here, or you've got to be somewhere else at a church function or whatever's keeping you, you get 2 of those a year. 2. And after a question in the ordinance committee, I went back through the charter, the town charter, and the town charter, actually read it again today, says that if a member of council misses 3 meetings voluntarily, not because they're loved or in hospital or anything, 3 meetings voluntarily, by resolution, the other council members can basically throw that member off council and replace him or her. So that is, but the member would have to miss the meeting voluntarily. Okay, not of his own accord. So this is while it's not new to the state, it would be new to us, and it would be a new ordinance to us. If you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them.
Going back to the last part you just said about the 3 meetings, if I read it correctly, it was 3 consecutive meetings?
Consecutive meetings.
Consecutive.
yes, ma'am. Consecutive meetings. In a 365-day period.
And does that include work sessions, or is that just normal?
Just meetings,
Okay.
I believe.
Too, I didn't know if there was any other clarification.
Said right, I would say no.
Yeah.
Anything else on this? Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Moving on to the flood ordinance change.
This is we pretty much don't have a choice. ISO, which is the agency which gives us our flood insurance discount rating for FEMA, contacted us a few months ago and said, if you're going to continue at the rating you have, which I believe is an 8 right now, then you have to adopt this change. It's a very minor change. It has to do with freeboard. As most of you know, we already have a 2-foot freeboard ordinance over the base flood elevation everywhere in town. ISO stated that, let me go back, that 2-foot freeboard on a new structure does not include mechanical equipment or ductwork, things like that, mechanical parts. So basically, you can build a house with a 2-foot freeboard, and a foot below that, you could hang ductwork or any mechanical equipment, place a hot water heater, as long as it wasn't below the base flood elevation. In other words, the 2-foot freeboard that you have above base flood elevation that zone can contain mechanical equipment. What this change says is that the mechanical equipment is going to have to meet a 1-foot freeboard ordinance. It's going to have to be at least 8 foot above base flood. What we said when we met with the ordinance committee is that we already have a 2-foot freeboard ordinance. We have a feeling that next year ISO is going to jack everything up to 2 foot. So let's just go ahead and make everything the same level, and mechanical equipment and the elevated floor of the structure would now have to meet the 2-foot freeboard ordinance as we have now for just the structure. So all mechanical equipment as well as the structure are going to have to be 2 foot above the base flood elevation.
That would be the smart thing to do. Why would you want your equipment sitting down there and the water come into it?
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with you, but we've seen it happen.
Unfortunately.
When people get in a tight situation, it means money or convenience. Sometimes the pocketbook wins out.
Might be a tomorrow too.
Yep.
And Matt, you said you do this already,
I do, yeah.
so it's something you're very familiar with.
Yeah, this is a
and-
practice I already do, which I honestly thought it was something I already had to do, so I just always did it. I assumed that all mechanical stuff had to be above the 2 foot anyway.
I thought it was too. I thought when we adopted this some years ago for that 2 foot, I thought it had to be, everything had to be.
Yeah, but I think that got overlooked.
It didn't get wrote in here, is what
Yeah, it
happened.
got overlooked. I mean, it was just one of those things. We got the structure in, but
Right.
we didn't get all the
Evidently,
other.
we brought it up, but it didn't get put in, because I've seen some stuff that didn't get put in way back.
And I can tell you that doing these, if you have mechanical equipment within the freeboard zone, you don't get as good a rating by the insurance company, so it doesn't make sense not to do it, especially if you're building it. And I think most people already abide by this. It's an easy change. It won't make much of a difference, but it does. It's in the ordinance, and when ISO comes here to audit us, they'll see it's in the ordinance, and you can keep your rating, and that's the reason we're doing it.
Now, Mike, can we get a better community service rating number? I know we're not gonna get another step up, but can we, because we go to the 2 foot, everything 2 foot, would that give us some extra points?
That I'm not sure of, but like I said, we feel like it's from where they're going, that next year they're gonna go up to 2 foot anyhow.
But you understand what I'm saying, because we don't have to, we're doing something extra, can we get more points?
And I-
Because we're not that heavily into that number 8.
And I don't know the answer to that. I can find out the answer to that, but I know if we don't do this, our rating will go down.
Right,
It's made
yeah, we're
clear.
gonna do this, but I'm saying, but see if we can get extra points, because we are going above and beyond. Same thing on that CRS number, like you say, we found that out when we were going across the street. We thought we were heavy into the number 8, we are not, just barely in. Are the community rating service meetings and stuff, can we get back at 10 in those so we can keep our number up?
We'll find that out.
You get all the way, they keep,
They're due to be here, I forget when Kenny told me to come up, but they've already asked for all his, he's already mailed them all, I think over a month ago, all the elevations that they asked for so they can audit us, so they're getting ready to do that.
well, like I said, we're not really thick in that number 8, if you understand what I'm saying, we're just barely in. So if, like I said, I think it's something like 10 in meetings and stuff that, you know, that when the county goes down, maybe we can go right in there with them or something. Just to get that number securely, so we can stay in, at least stay in that number 8.
Matt, just, if somebody's like just doing a block foundation, on average for that 2 foot, what are you talking about cost-wise?
Depending on the size of the house, I mean,
Yeah.
you can go anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000. I mean, but the savings, what it costs to do it now versus the savings you're going to have over the years for flood insurance
Oh, yeah.
is a no-brainer. And that's what I always tell people when I do things for them, that, you know,
Plus, having to replace your equipment one time is gonna cost that much anyway.
well, Mike does a lot of the flood elevations that I do, and he knows that I take and put my top block at the 2 foot freeboard. So I've got everything out of that. So anything wood related, anything mechanical is above the 2 foot freeboard.
And I think most of us know, everything above the ordinance, as you go up, your rate goes down.
Yeah.
And I just talked to a man 2 days ago who was paying $5,000 a year
Mm-hmm.
for flood insurance.
Son, don't even get me started.
And it's just around the corner here. But it's extremely expensive, and the higher you go.
Oh, yeah.
The more things you qualify for with events and all that stuff.
Yeah, you want that
the better your
preferred
rate's
rate.
gonna be.
But back to Denise, when you're saying don't get me started, a lot of people don't really realize that when it changed a lot, and a lot of people kept the same rate and didn't, you know, go into it, have an engineer come there and redo it, are still paying the high rate when they don't need to. is what I'm
I
trying-
know.
So I'm saying is don't, a lot of people really that needs to be put out there to our public, you know, things have changed, check with engineer and see if just having a new flood, flood elevation will change your rate. And like you said, a lot of people are paying extraordinary when, because of the change, they can play the normal rates.
He did mine, about a year or so ago, and I got money back.
This is
Sue
exactly,
got money back.
this is exactly what I'm saying. People really need to know, because a lot of people are still paying that extraordinarily high when they don't have to.
Right.
And that needs to be put out. You know, if you've got extraordinary, just check. Just check.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and approve this ordinance.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Next up is the Harbor Committee ordinances, I believe. And it's minor changes. Mike, since you're still up there, you want to do it?
I have one question before you start. Mike wanted to come back to us on that, or did I misunderstand?
He did. He came
Oh,
back.
he came back.
He came back to us
I got
the
you.
next day. So
Okay.
everybody likes it. So,
Carry on. I just thought we put that on hold, but go ahead.
Yeah.
I missed that. All right.
yeah.
In first issue, mooring permit required for use of occupancy, if you go down to C, all fees for mooring permit shall become due and payable on June 1st. There's a couple reasons we're asking to change this. First and foremost, our fiscal year starts on July 1. And if you're paying a year ahead of time in June, then we're dedicating 1/12 of your slip fee to the previous fiscal year and 11/12 of your slip fee to the next fiscal year. I mean, it's just math, it is what it is, but make it much cleaner and more convenient to have it start on July 1st like everything else we do. But the second thing is we felt that there was, we have some slip owners who pay late, I'm sure out of necessity, but we felt that July 1st instead of June 1st, everyone's heavily into the season, they have some money flowing, they might have the money to be able to pay on time. because we have a certain number of folks right now who don't pay till July 1st anyhow because they don't have cash flow that time of year. So that should make it simpler for that. The reason I understand, and I wasn't here, but the reason I understand that it was June 1st to start with is because they were afraid that if somebody was going to pay on July 1 and decided all of a sudden at the last minute to give their slip up, they wouldn't be able to rent it for the rest of the year. That is not an issue. We have people in line for these things. So we feel that it would be much better to go back to July 1 for those reasons. And the committee seemed to feel that that was fine. You want to do them all and vote at one time?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay. If you go down to B in the next section, at the present time, it's illegal to sleep on your vessel in the harbor. While this is desirable, we don't want anybody living down there, hanging their laundry out and all that kind of thing. There needs to be some leeway for transient vessels, and we do get some transient vessels, some that come in for repairs, others come in because of the weather, and they might need to wait a day or two for repairs or wait a day for the weather to calm down and need to stay on the vessel. I know just recently we had a sailboat that went ashore out there in the mouth of the inlet and cracked the keel and were taking on water. They got them into the harbor and got the leak stopped. And the harbor master told him, he said, I want somebody on this boat 24/7 because I don't want to come in one morning and it's sunk to the dock and laying over in the middle of the harbor. So this just makes it easier for the harbor master to allow someone to stay on the vessel if the vessel is there in transient in nature and it's there for less than 5 days. It allows, basically it lets the code catch up with what we're already doing.
Well, we already allow that at Robert Reed Park.
At Robert Reed you do, yes, but not at the harbor.
That's because the slips at Robert Reed Park were paid for with a grant. That
Right,
was
yeah.
for transients.
Right.
So that would be,
And if they're blown in for, if they come in because of repairs, we really don't want them, they really can't pull the boat or do any major repairs in a slip at Robert Reed Park. We don't want them in the middle of town doing that.
And maybe I'm advertising, but that's one of the best deals going. It's $1. It used to be at and your waterfront, you got a back key to the bathroom, and my gosh, that's the best. I mean, like you say, and it don't get as used as much as I really thought it. You know,
As I remember when I was a kid,
you can't beat that deal.
when I was a kid at the time, dock, it was $1 a foot
Mhm.
back in the 70s. So
Exactly. I mean, you can't hide. You beat that deal. You stay out there. You got waterfront thing. You got great restaurants right there, and a place to go take a shower, and you can't hookups, and man.
well, as I said, this is not something we advertise, and the harbor master does tell them if they come in and want to stay for a while, he directs them to Robert
Right.
Reed Park and tells them that you're in the middle of town, you don't need a car and that kind of thing. But this allows him, when he does have somebody come in for repairs or they're just overnight for weather or something, you can go ahead and stay on the boat. It's not a big deal. It makes things legal, and that's the way we're operating anyhow.
That's storage.
It just gives them some leeway.
It just gives them some leeway.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next is storage, section 70-100, crab traps, lobster pots, fish boxes, other types of stuff. May not be stored in the upland area. Boats shall not be stored on the docks, adjacent waterways, upland areas of the harbor. We just added without the express permission of the harbor master. And he has given permission to some people based on the situation. If it's an emergency situation, or in some instances they pay us for the storage that they're using, and he gets say over where it goes, when it happens, that sort of thing. And the harbor master we have now is very good about reporting what he does when he does it. We talk every day. So again, we just added that to give him some leeway to make the way we're operating legal under our ordinance. 7101, and everybody thought this was in there, but it was not. We have a fuel concession, as you know, at the harbor. But there was nothing in the ordinance that said someone else couldn't come down and fuel a boat. Another refueler could not drive a truck down and refuel a boat for a fee. There was an understanding between Jim and PEPA a few years ago that since PEPA was providing fuel for the time, that they weren't to come down there and fuel any other boats, and they have abided by that agreement. If the landscape changes, if there's suddenly a couple other refuelers rang. We don't have anything in our ordinance that prevents them from doing it. And at the ordinance committee meeting, I likened it to, you can't bring your own popcorn to the movies, you know. You gotta buy their popcorn, and we want people to buy our popcorn and not lose the sale, so. if
And,
you-
sorry, Mike, we're also not preventing anybody from bringing their own fuel. You know,
Right.
if you've got your boat down there, you're more than welcome to bring your own fuel. We're not making you buy our fuel.
We just don't want to see you call mainland and have somebody else come over with a truck to fuel your boat, and apparently that was going on at one time for a lot of work boats, and they were selling it cheaper than we were at the concession, so they were undercutting us.
I'm gonna tell you one problem I have. Night before last, I went down, took the boat into the harbor, pulled up to the gas pump. That is the craziest gas pump I've ever tried to operate in my life. Walter, can you explain that better, why it does what it does?
You mean you gotta get the card in, select the pump and all that kind of
Well,
stuff?
it tells you to put an amount in between 10 and 50, right? So I put 25 in and started fueling up, and it stopped at like 18.
Yeah, you have to put way more than what you want.
Yeah, it just gives you, it's just an approval amount.
And that way it'll only charge you for what you get.
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
Basically, and I was confused at first too, but basically what it does is I think it puts if you make a reservation in a hotel somewhere,
Yeah.
Puts a hold on
they
that.
put a hold on your
Mhm.
account for the amount of room. And this does the same thing with fuel. I always put way more than, and you have to be careful, because if you don't have that much on your credit card, it'll hold the amount until it clears. But I always put like $100 on there if I know I want $50 worth of fuel. And it doesn't charge you the $100, but it keeps that hold on your account until the money clears.
If I'm not mistaken, we used to have a placard down there that explained all that.
It was nothing down there.
We changed fuel pumps
Well,
here not too long ago.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm not the one who usually fuels that boat up most of the time. Somebody else does. So your brother came with one of his, and I was like, Carl, because I was getting ready to call Vernon and say, what am I doing wrong here? So he told me, so then put the card back in, I put 50 in, go to fuel her up, and it cut off at like 32 or something like that. Wouldn't let nothing else go in. I don't, it's a very confusing system down there.
I'll have Vernon take a look at that.
I-
We've had some problems with it reporting with the internet, because it reports through internet service.
Wouldn't print a receipt. And your brother said it's been doing that for a long time.
Probably not.
Won't print a receipt. And he said he has to come up here to the town office to get receipts for business. So, I don't understand what would be so difficult to have a system, just like at a regular gas pump. When you put it in, you fuel up however much you're gonna get, and that's it.
Well, Vernon keeps telling us we're getting a new system, but they have to wait for the technology,
We're getting-
chip reader to.
We're getting
catch
a
up with us.
new credit card reader for those pumps that reads a chip instead of a swipe, which we're mandated to do. And hopefully that will straighten most of this out.
I
But
mean,
the problem is, the company does not make a chip reader yet for this pump. That's the problem.
And the thing is, if that's the company's policy to put that hold on there, that's not gonna change with a credit card reader. That's
No.
the policy
yeah.
on which you signed
I
under.
guess what I'm saying is, when I pull up to the shortstop with my truck and put my card in, in my mind, if I want to put $40 in or $50, I stop it at $40 or $50. It won't allow you to do that.
Yeah, it's a different infrastructure. Those type of systems, you've got a lot broader financial base that's going through that, where this is a small, when you look at these smaller companies that run these pumps, like you would find in the harbor, they typically put holds on those type of cards just because, to make sure that they get their money.
Right.
They do it for the large transactions.
Exactly.
Because you
Yeah.
gotta work those buying
Exactly.
$300-400 worth of fuel.
Exactly.
If not $1,000 worth.
Yeah.
And I get that. I don't know.
It's pain sometimes.
Yeah. I think some language, some information or something down there saying that this is what's what might be extremely helpful to a lot of people. I mean, I was there I don't consider myself a dumb person by any means, but let me tell you, I thought, you know what, this is such a hassle, it wasn't worth it, you know, until your brother came along and explained to me.
And I struggled with it the first couple
Yeah.
times I went, I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
Apparently, once you figure it out, you're good to go. But,
Yeah.
I'll talk to Vernon, we'll see if we can't get it placarded with some plain language,
Yeah.
signage and tell you how to do it.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
The next, if you go down to 7104, preventive conduct, down at F, overhaul and repair of boats. Well, we allow that. We just don't allow, without permission of the harbor master, and that's all we added. So he can at least control where it happens, when it happens, how long it's going to be there, that sort of thing. And for those of you who don't know, letter H, discharge of firearms, the police department does have at times go down there and use it as a range, so we just added by private citizens. And I believe that's the extent of our ordinance changes for the harbor. Any questions I can answer?
Make a motion, we approve the changes.
Second.
Motion and properly second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank y'all. Next on the agenda is the review of the state of emergency.
All right, since the last time that we talked, there hasn't been a whole lot of change other than things seem to be getting better statewide. Today in your report, you saw that we're at a moving average of 6.5%. So that's coming down pretty significantly. The Hampton Roads problem seems to be under control. Even here locally, we're still doing really well with our numbers, although we have increased our numbers to 14 positive cases throughout the event. We saw our numbers stay consistent at 10 from June 13th to August the 4th. On August the 5th, we went to 11 and held there for 4 days. August the 10th through the 12th, we went to 12. 13th into the 14th, we were at 13, and then on August the 15th, we got our 14th case here locally. As of today, 402 folks have been tested, so that's still a really good local average. We're well below the state average by a little more than half, really. So, you know, we're doing well. I think part of why we're starting to see a few cases on the uptick is people are getting complacent again. If you ride down Maddox Boulevard on any given evening, it used to be people were kind of spaced out. They were wearing their masks. Now you're starting to see folks, instead of 6 foot apart, they're 3 foot apart, 2 foot apart. Some wear masks, some don't. So I think that complacency is going to lead to an increase, but there's nothing that appears to be problematic at this time with that increase. So, you know, that's a positive note, but here again, we have to, you know, stay vigilant. It's still that self-responsibility. Everyone needs to take that upon themselves to make sure they keep the distance and they keep their masks on to protect the other person. And of course, that goes both ways. But other than that, we're doing really well. Today is day 163 that we've been dealing with COVID. We've been in a state of emergency for COVID for 152 days. And today is day 35 since we went back into that emergency for that brief period that we were out. So, you know, it has been a lengthy time. We did deal with the tropical storm here back on the 4th. So we were very fortunate with that. We didn't have to do any evacuations. We didn't have to work any of the COVID process that we were going to have to do as far as our evacuees. Hopefully we don't have to do that at all this particular season, but as I said in your report today, there's 2 more systems out there right now, Tropical Depression 13 and Tropical Depression 14. They both are forecast to become tropical storms in the next couple of days. There's a third wave that's sitting off of Africa, and today is the 20th of August. So on the 20th of August, we enter our busiest time of the year. Peak being September 10th, but August 20th starts our peak for hurricane season. So again, all these COVID measures are going to have to apply if we were to have some type of sheltering at the shelters over at Arcadia High School. Also, we're working on some sheltering for the pet shelter down at Nandua, just in case we have more folks than what we're planning. Plus, our plan, Accomack, Chincoteague, Northampton, also has, you know, certain areas designated for the pets and certain ways that folks are going to access their pets to feed them, to take them for walks. And we figured out last week that we may have to change that ever so slightly, again, because of COVID. So we're on top of it. We will make it work if it comes to that, but, you know, we, again, stay tuned. Any COVID questions?
In the beginning, you heard a lot about hospital metrics. Do they still report those?
Yes, they still report the hospital metrics. We are seeing a decrease in hospitalizations. If you notice in your report daily, you know, now some days we're below 50 new hospitalizations statewide. If you notice in the county, yesterday we reported a new death, and we haven't reported any new hospitalizations in Accomack County since Saturday, and that was 2. Like I said, we did have a new death yesterday. So again, our numbers are really, you know, have been good here for a while since the big outbreak. So that's a positive note. Again, the Hampton Roads outbreak, all the problems they were having, that seems to be under control, and that moving average is now 6.5. So that's, you know, we had gotten as low as 5.7 there for a while. So we are moving back to that statewide and even locally. Like I said, even though we've had a few cases that have popped up here, nothing that's concerning at this point. I mean, we don't want to see a number come positive, but certainly nothing concerning.
Now, how about on this testing? You know, you got all these kids going to college and they're having all these tests. Is it going to be reported in our district if the test comes back positive?
So that's something that hasn't been answered yet, but the question's been asked. The testing is supposed to come back to the address. However, if the student is actually living in a dorm at you know, UVA, Virginia Tech, wherever, it should be reported to that school and not to us. Unfortunately, until we get that answer, number one. Number two, we're not going to know if that's that student or if that's, you know,
Somebody else.
yourself, myself, whoever, unfortunately. So that's concerning because we've seen some outbreaks already at UNC. Georgia's had a couple of colleges that they've had some outbreaks. So yeah, we don't want to see that in our numbers if we can help it.
Well, that's the Virginia schools are cranking up like this week.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Brian, every day when you send a report and I look at it, the first thing, that very first line that I look at, like today, there have been 109,019 reported cases, and then you got plus 737.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's 737 additional cases since the day before.
right, and for the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've not seen that number under 600. Doesn't seem like.
No, it hasn't.
And
But as you can see, if you go back to Sunday, for example, we reported 937.
yeah,
If you go back farther than that, on Friday the 7th, there was 2,000 reported.
I know.
So that's why that average is slowly starting to go back down now. Does that answer your question, or
No,
does that,
it makes me nervous that there's 737 more cases since yesterday.
Put your testings up too.
yeah, you have to take that into account. Your
Okay.
testing is going higher, but that moving average is a really good key indicator.
Okay.
If that's going down, that's, you know, we're moving in the right direction.
Okay.
But, you know, compared to where we were a month and a half ago on the testing
Yeah.
side of things, you know, the tests are just, you know, everywhere now, and people are able to get multiple tests within multiple days, so,
Isn't that your positivity rate? Isn't that what that means? Your ratio of your test to your
to your positive.
positive?
So that's, you know, that's good.
So we're
you
at
know,
like a 3% positivity rate on Shingle.
here on Chincoteague, yep. So that's why I say we're better than half, so.
Yeah.
Going back to the college question, with Virginia schools ramping up, are kids do you know if they're being tested when they get there or anything like that, or
So-
just?
Every school has a different plan.
Mhm.
So some, yes, some no.
Mhm.
Some have to stay in their dorm for 14 days after there's so many different plans that have to be approved by the different boards of education. And most of them are being approved, so there's no set standard. There's just the recommendation. So as long as they meet the core recommendations, they can be more restrictive or, you know, as least restrictive as the core recommendations.
All right.
All right?
Hey, Brian, one, it's related, but it's not related. I saw, I think on Facebook last week, you guys met with with a member of FEMA.
We did, we met.
Anything noteworthy from that?
We met with Administrator Gaynor, and we also met with Mary Ann Tierney, who is the Region 3 out of Philadelphia, our region administrator. So they were passing through the area. They were headed to the Hampton Roads region, of course, who's going to get more coverage than what we do here. But we were lucky to have Bruce Sterling, our Region 5 coordinator in VDEM, snag them as they were coming through because, of course, he knew. So yes, we did, the mayor and Mr. Tolbert, we met at the Accomack County EOC and was able to, you know, show them what rural America looks like here on the Eastern Shore. You know, certainly they're familiar with rural America, but let's face it, rural America gets forgotten a lot. So that was, you know, that was our first thing that we brought up was, you know, we have to survive on our own out here. We really do. We brought up about different funding avenues. Certainly, you know, our biggest problem here, and again, Administrator Gaynor agreed, is, hey, operationally, you can put us up against anybody. Put us up against New York City, put us up against LA. We can do it as far as the response operation. When it comes to recovery, that's where we're going to falter. I mean, there's no other way to put it, but we've thankfully never seen anything of that magnitude that we have to recover from. So again, a lot of other areas same way. So we made that known to Administrator Gaynor and certainly Region 3 Administrator Tierney. And, you know, it was some positive. I don't know that it changes anything. They gave us some funding streams to look into. And I've been, you know, investigating those over the last week and a half. Most of the grant periods for this year have closed. Some we are eligible for, some we're not. So they did give me some good contacts within their offices, both at the national level and then here at the region. So, you know, it certainly wasn't a waste of time. It was worth the ride down the road, I think.
Good.
Funny side note to that, Brian was bringing home the point that we're, you know, separated from the rest of the state of Virginia. When he asked me the question, I said the same thing. And then the state coordinator kicked in and said at the state level, some of the state committees have come out with a challenge coin. And they left the Eastern Shore off the challenge coin. And we're like, there you go, there's the example. He said that the governor was not real happy with whoever it was in the state that made those coins up. But it just brought home that point that we were separated from everybody else. It was interesting. It was funny. It was more staff from FEMA in the state there than it was from our local people.
It was. They travel with a
Yeah,
rather large group.
yeah, that was impressive.
And when you hear about the black trucks pulling up with the window tints and all, it's true. It
And the
happens.
satellite dishes on top. I mean, yeah, it was
So-
nice. We were gonna get Brian a COVID truck though with those, all that stuff.
Thanks, Brian.
A COVID response vehicle. The government was gonna pay for it. Anyhow. Alrighty, we're coming to announcements. Mr. Reed,
I don't have anything to do.
Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, and Mr. McCombs prior, earlier, he prayed for frontline workers and our police, our own employees, our EMS, and not only that, our businesses, our dollar stores. I'm not being funny when I say that. These young men and young women that are, and like you said, are handling money. And guess what? And our grocery store. Those people working for low wage, and high energy jobs. And we need, I like to have a little, like I said, I was up Pokemon the other day, you know, we now probably need to put a sign, we appreciate all of our frontline workers. Maybe we could get a little sign or something like that at the bridge that because we do. Because guess what? That kept us up and going all the way through. There to work when a lot of people were hunkered in. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I'll say it right here, I do appreciate them. I mean, each and every one of them. I'm not, thanks, because I go to the dollar stores quite often. And I thank them. And like I say, if anybody walks in them stores, thank them. Appreciate it. Because I know some days they have hard days, and guess what? You know, people fuss at them, make masks and this, that, and the other. We need to let them know that we appreciate what they've done for our town to keep us in toilet paper and bread. And they have done a good job. You might have to go to all 4 stores, but they have. They have. And I think we should lift them up. And all of our police officers, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? You go there, you don't know what they got. And every time you pull up, you don't know what they got. But they're still willing to go and still willing to work every day. And we have been blessed on this town by people keeping us up and going. And we've been up and going.
I'm good.
Mr. Bott?
Nothing.
Val?
Yeah. Question for Mike, and then I've got a comment. Looking at the meals tax and the TOT, right now, if I'm reading this correctly, right now it looks like we're down about 78 grand altogether.
Altogether, if you're putting meals and transit occupancy together, yes, and that's over last year's collections for the same time period.
Not as bad as I thought
Right.
myself.
I mean, yes, we in the office, when we finally put the numbers to it, and as you can see, today was the due date for both. And we had to cut it off at some point so we could get a report to you that was anywhere meaningful. So they did it by 2 p.m. They were taking them to the last minute. So you see what we collected just for today, which you would expect on the last day. But we were still pleasantly surprised at the way the numbers are. I mean, we're not there from last year.
Right.
We don't budget on a monthly basis, so there is no way to say, all you can do is say, compare it to last year and say we're behind last year's numbers.
Yeah.
But still, I think considering it's not nowhere near as bad as it could be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, of course, I mean, 78,000 is 78,000,
Sure
but
is.
it's not as bad as I anticipated.
And Denise, I'm not
So
gonna lie.
78,000 is a year-to-date number. It's not a month-to-date.
It's a fiscal year to date.
As of August.
today at 2
Okay.
p.m. Yes.
Okay.
And Denise, Lord be willing that the COVID don't come back on us hard. I'm not gonna lie, I think we're gonna catch up because I think our September and October is gonna be way different than last year's September and October on the positive side. And I'm not being funny, I'm not being, looking at it in a positive way. If we can stay free of the COVID, I think we're gonna catch up. I'm not gonna lie to you, I really think we're gonna catch up because our June and July, if you compare last year's June and July, you understand what I'm saying? And I'm not lying to you, it does look good. I think Arthur will tell you the same thing with you, Arthur. Our September and our October look very good, Lord be willing, that we can stay healthy. It really does. I really think we're even gonna be able
Tropical storms or hurricanes and will come up the coast.
The other thing I have is just a comment. I wasn't at the Harbor Committee meeting, didn't watch it or anything like that. But as I was walking my dog the other day, one of the charter boat captains, and I don't know if he was here at the meeting or if he watched it online, is very concerned about the water flow in the inlet, of course. Taking out the current, taking out like where the cross is, the ship's mast there by the Waterman's Memorial.
Right.
So when I was out on the boat the other day, I couldn't see anything. Maybe he's talking about further in the marsh there. Is there an issue there?
Well,
Also?
yeah, the marsh is constantly being eaten.
Yeah, I see that.
The berm where the cross is or the ship's mast, we did take some storm damage there, but Vernon has told us that
he plans on fixing that, when we have some concrete project, probably before then. He was gonna go out later that week and survey, cause, there were a couple spots where you could see the concrete had shifted.
Uh-huh.
So that's an ongoing thing. And unfortunately, you know, our inlet is not getting any smaller. So we're just, the constant swell is
I know,
hitting us.
it was. Are
And
we-
we've talked to the Army Corps of Engineers about doing a study, and of course, that was when they wanted $3 million.
Were we still in the mix for that? I mean, wasn't the state, when we met with them,
Yeah, the state.
was gonna throw in
was-
half of that?
Well, they tried to get it, but I think that failed the General Assembly. It's not saying we can't go back out, because, I mean, we were there. So we could try that. The Navy is talking about doing some work down there, and I keep hoping that they do it sooner rather than later. And we can piggyback on some of them, because the federal government seems to have an endless supply of funds. So if they want to do that project on Wallops, maybe we can get them to pump in some money, and we can fix some jetties or breakwaters or something to break that stuff up as it comes in.
I think it's something that we need to start pushing like ASAP, because, you know, I know you're on the water a lot, I am, Matt's out sometimes, Chris, I don't know about you, or you other two either, but, you know, the biggest difference I saw this year was in the inlet, as
yeah.
far as the swells. The longer we wait to pursue anything, I just don't think we can wait any longer. I think we really this needs to be something we need to start hammering down on and pursuing every avenue we can to get something done, because it's pretty rough out there. And it is eating away, and every time the swell comes in, it's like he's taking a big bite. And just, you know, southern end
That, and
is,
then the big marker right there at the
Yeah.
end of the harbor,
yeah,
16,
yep,
you used not be able to drive a boat.
I
with that
know.
marker in the bank.
I know.
Okay,
Yeah, you
now.
can put
25 feet of water
it's
there now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could put the Titanic
through there now, yeah.
But, you know, it's all something of a bigger problem, because now you're seeing, just like on that end of the island, when storms come, more flooding, you know,
Yeah.
all that type of stuff, just
Yeah.
because you don't have the protection you had out there.
I mean,
before.
we've been talking about this, you know, for
Oh, yeah.
years.
Years.
And I think it's time that we start hammering down on Rob Bloxham and Lynn Lewis and whoever we can to get something moving along, because this is an issue that is just keep getting worse every
And
minute of the day.
It all falls back to the Corps of Engineers. And of course, the Corps of Engineers, they're going backwards. You know, they used to have money for projects, and now they've been cut back, and it's tough.
You can only imagine it's gonna get worse now with
Yeah.
with
I
the
mean,
budget shortfalls.
It took Tangier how long to get a jetty around there? Well,
Now they're having problems with their main channel
Mhm.
is shoaling. So they can't get in and out sometimes
Yeah.
because of the shoals, which
Yeah.
is terrible.
I just think it's something we need to ASAP start working on.
Protecting
Protecting,
We had,
yeah.
I can't remember, we had some universities come down and tell us that we were studying that. Didn't we take them up there on that berm and,
Yes.
Was
Did
it
some
Chris?
soil samples and everything.
no, it wasn't Chris. This was universities from all over the place. But Chris was supposed to be studying
Supposed to be
the
giving,
inlet.
yeah, giving you a report on what
Right.
they
Yeah.
found when they done those tests.
Yeah,
We might have to call him again, because when Jim, at the last going off from Jim talking to him, I believe he was still working on it. But I think we need to have him back up here and let him give us a synopsis of what he's found out.
I mean, I know no matter what, from this point on, no matter what we do, it's not gonna be fixed next week. But each week goes by, it's getting worse. So we need, I just feel like this is something that is so important that we have to really take the bull by the horns and say, okay, this is one of our main things we have got to get done. Because it is, you know, I sailed out the other night as far as I could before I was getting swells like, you know, you couldn't see over top. And that inlet is, it just, we need to ASAP get hammering down on somebody, some agency to help us out with this.
Well, we'll get in touch with Bims and see if we can't get Chris back up here. Cause he's the most knowledgeable man I know about it.
Well,
You know what, we know that thing about getting funding.
Yeah.
Isn't Wallops gonna be moving the sand from
They-
the
they already
we're
are.
doing
south,
something over
They
there
already
now.
from our south end farther south?
Yeah, from what we used to call gunboat.
Yeah, and it's gonna make it
They're-
wider coming in.
Well, they're not actually making it wider.
No, I'm talking about it's gonna make it wider for us at the inlet.
Yeah, but they're not moving their shoreline. They're taking the dunes up and stuff. What they're doing, they've got two big excavators down
Yeah.
there digging up the dunes,
And moving it farther south,
moving it in front of the launch pad.
yes. And then they're building a new bridge going over there.
Yes, they are.
By the way, I have, on my desk, and I can send it to you, I was gonna send it to everyone just for your information, but I have, Wallops is in with the Federal Highway Administration right now. They're doing an environmental impact study on the site for the new bridge, which is immediately adjacent to the old bridge. And they've asked for our comments as a possible stakeholder, which, I don't have any particular comments. I don't know if any of you did, but I was going to send that out to you. I'll probably do it this afternoon or tomorrow. It shows some sketches of what the new bridge will look like and how it's gonna be put in, the size of it, that sort of thing. My only comment is don't close up the end of the waterway.
Well, that probably will be, because that bridge is supposed to be lower than what it is now.
The inland waterway's
New.
been closed anyhow.
Mhm.
Well, they're using 150-foot spans, so there's gonna be some room between piles, for sure. Long spaces between the piles. I don't know how deep the water's gonna be. 150-foot spans, it's gonna be quite a bridge. And the existing one's over 1,250 foot long, so.
Because I know they've shut it down for people who can't go over there.
Mr. Mayor, I have one more comment.
Sure, go ahead.
One of the reasons, Mike, that I asked for a monthly check, you know, what we're spending and stuff. When I first got on council, Gene Lane, you're talking about looking for our businesses here. And everybody in this room has heard me say it, and I'm gonna say it again. But I'm gonna use Miss Ellen's words. I've got heartburn when I look at the money we're spending at businesses off the island, when we could be spending it here on our businesses. And it goes back, it has to go back to Public Works. When I look on here and how much we've spent with Gibbons this year, or in this last month and a half, compared to what we spent locally, is not a drop in the bucket. I got nothing at all against Jimmy Holloway. He's my cousin, love him to death and all that. But Jimmy Holloway is not paying taxes, real estate, personal property, anything here on Shingatee. And our businesses here deserve that first shot above anybody else. And to see the difference in the money that's being spent, I mean, if we got to wait a day or two for a park, we got to wait a day or two. I mean, I feel like we're spending more money going back and forth than we are, you know, other projects could be handled. I have an issue with that. I think that our businesses here on Shingatee should take top priority over going off the island and spending it unless it's absolutely necessary.
And if I may,
Mm-hmm.
within 30 days, I've already started writing it. We're going to put out a vehicle service contract that will nail down rates, insurance capabilities from vehicle service providers. It'll be open to everyone. I've already got it organized. I haven't finished writing it, but I've got it organized. In a few days, I'll have it finished. But I intend to put that out to all the islands and anybody else from off the island that wants to bid on it for servicing our vehicles. And I include in that only the things that we don't do in-house.
Mhm.
You know, certain things we do in-house, and the guys back there do a heck of a job at doing it.
Good,
Other things have to go to a shop somewhere.
right.
So basically, the contract is going to be, we'll do it probably for 2 years, something like that, with an option to continue. We're going to ask everybody's rates. They're going to have insurance and that sort of thing, so they have to step up to the plate. We're going to have a warranty that they provide with that service. They're going to have to be connected with people that can supply the proper parts, that sort of thing. They're going to have certified mechanics. It's all going to be in that contract that we put out, and we're going to ask for bids on that. But that should give us somebody and make it fair across the board that's going to provide the lowest price and the best service. It won't all be on the evaluation of that contract. Won't be strictly who has the best shop rates.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to take into consideration several things.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they provide emergency service, what services they can provide. Some shops can't do everything. You know, some are phonic brakes and things, but if you have to overhaul an engine or something of that nature, or transmission, they can't do that and have to be sent out. So we'll be evaluating them on several different criteria. But I'll have that ready within the next 30 days and out of the way, and that should take care of at least that issue as far as service on vehicles.
So it would almost,
The only problem with, that I see with that is you need to keep it still, regardless, you need to keep it with town businesses. I don't think that other businesses off the island that aren't paying taxes and business license to us should get an option to bid on on working on our vehicles. Not to mention, the only time that our vehicles, these town vehicles, should be going off this island to be serviced, and that should be warranty work for vehicles that are under warranty at a dealership, or something that's maintained and has to be done at the dealership, a recall, whatnot. Any of these shops are linked up with these parts, and I do it all the time over here at Rogers. If I need a part for my truck or something, I can go into him, and within an hour I can have that part. I can't go to Pocomoke and come back in that amount of time. And you're going to pay the same price
And
there.
that's the only caveat I would have with that is to make sure our pricing is good. You know, you don't want to be in a situation where you're paying twice or three times as much for something. And I'm not talking about a $10 part. I'm talking about, you know, a $1,200 repair or what upgrade, whatever it may be. And I'll take it a step further. I mean, you're right on the auto parts and all that, but I mean, it's for all businesses. I mean, whether it's, you know, you're talking about insurance, whatever it is, our local vendors should have a chance to at least bid on any business that we have periodically. And even like banks, you know, make sure that we're dealing fairly. They all pay franchise tax. Make sure that we're dealing across the board, you know, fairly with all the banks and the other types of businesses. Watson Gas, they're the propane vendor that has an office on here. They should get priority and for, you know, for town purchases, because they are a local business. So I would take it, I know we can't do everything in a day, but I think it's a review we need to make as we go through the next few months and making sure that we are supporting all of the local businesses fairly, especially in these times.
I just feel like, to me, if the town of Shingatig is taking their business as soon as they cross that drawbridge,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a slap in the face to the businesses here on this island that can provide the same services.
I agree.
And they're the ones who are paying just the business license, the taxes, the personal property, everything else that comes along. And I cannot, it gives me heartburn.
Everybody on here deserves peace of mind.
Yes,
Mr.
they
Mayor,
do.
Yeah.
I can't agree more, and I'm not gonna talk about, you talk about money, and I don't go just to one. Now, my truck was somewhere today, and I know some of us drive older vehicles, so that has to go there quite often. I'll put the pricing up, either one of the four places. I'll put the prices up with anybody's. You know what I mean, I'll put, our people's, all four of them, I've never been to either one of them. Did I feel like matter of fact, I feel like I've gotten good service at a good rate. I mean, either one of them, and I go to all four of them. And I just can't, like you say, we're not getting robbed, I can tell you that firsthand, because I know I use all four. And my gosh, like you say, and I'm not saying give it to one person, or have to bid on it, because I think you take it either one, like I said, but like you said, if at all humanly possible, like you said, except for warranty, leave them here. And I like you gotta make the order to Jimmy too, I mean, I really do. But however, like you say, it'd be different if our people were highway robbing you, but I think they're as competitive as anybody.
Yep.
I can tell you that firsthand, as anybody.
That's all I have.
Okay, Ms. Richardson?
No, except, we do have a sign. We have a road sign that you could certainly put at the foot of the bridge saying, thank you.
Absolutely.
Flashing sign?
Well, it's that big, on a trailer, very big sign, the
Yeah,
yellow
that
one.
one's, isn't that one out of whack? That one's not.
I'll check on it tomorrow.
It is.
We have not used it in a
I
while.
do
Well, it
not-
needs to be fixed, because you don't know when you need it.
Yeah, I don't think it's working.
I don't know that it's worth fixing either.
That big yellow one?
That was the discussion, that it wasn't worth fixing.
And we had to use the highway sign from the highway department.
What's gonna cost them?
We need to do something.
We need to have something.
Need to do
You
something.
can get a counter made or something.
You use those during storms, but what do you say? You go get it from the highway? How if the highway don't have one to lend you?
Then you go without.
I'll
Yeah.
check on what's wrong with it, and we'll see if it's worth fixing or not. They're fairly pricey, right, from our price point. I can't see why, if the structure's viable, I don't see why we can't fix it. We'll find out.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session according to 2.2-3711A3 Code of Virginia to discuss acquisition of real estate.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize, but I'm going to tell you that we don't have anything for closed session, so
Well,
we really need to be.
then strike that.
Even
To
better.
heck with it. I'll entertain a motion that we go home.
So move.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 It was a second, and a.